Hey, it's that time of the week again. It's time for the Jack and Mark Show. If you missed last week's episode, here are a few highlights. And we've got a great new special feature. All curse words will be replaced by their Morse code equivalent.
A friend of mine said, my dad's name is Alex. And so I went and asked my dad, I said, what's your name? He said, it's Sparko. I call him Sparko. He immediately flew into a rage and threatened to start the individual on fire. But he did say, if I did start you on fire, I would put you out.
Well, he's the guy who started that phrase, liar, liar, pants on fire.
He felt that all liars should have their pants on fire. And usually, if your pants go, your underpants go too. It has been rumored that he actually set someone's pants on fire just last week. It was someone who overcharged him for cutting his lawn. He thought he could take advantage of an old man. And he said, listen, it's $10 more. What are you going to do? If you don't give me the $10, I'm just going to throw weed seeds on your lawn. And then Sparky, he just got over. He said, just a minute, let me get my lighter fluid. But the guy was stupid. He didn't catch on.
Well, he caught on fire.
Oh, he caught on then.
In the first Gulf War in the early 90s, Saddam set all the oil fields on fire. They used Sparky to help put them out. What's the story behind that?
He went over on the pretense that he would help put out fires, but they soon quickly realized that he was not very good at putting out that size of a fire. He entertained the troops. He would light people's pants on fire. Everyone would go, Sparky, Sparky, Sparky. They'd have someone come out. The guy would just say, hey, Sparko, what's going on? And he would fly into a rage and light the guy's pants on fire. And they loved it. He got a Medal of Honor for just being so ridiculous. And he was walking around, with no pants on. And people were getting kind of tired of it. So they gave him fireproof pants just so he would stop doing it. And he said, yeah, but I have to do it. I lied. I have to punish myself.
Because of that, the U.S. Army, at one time they had to go into battle without pants. The great buck naked battle.
It was funny, though. It threw the enemy off, and they thought that it was a trick. I mean, who the hell would charge another army butt naked?
Now, he had a sister, didn't he?
He did have a sister. She was able to drink large volumes of water. She was kind of like called the human camel. Her body was able to absorb massive amount of water and then at will regurgitate it out for anyone who might need it.
The Russians got a hold of her and tried to do research, I understand.
That pissed off Sparky. He went over there disguised as a shoe salesman. He would somehow get into the army surplus and the army storage and decimate the pants supply. I mean, Sparky did manage to get his sister home. Get out of here. We got to have pants. We can't keep her. And Sparky said, fine. And he took his sister home.
What about the mother now, the tea drinker?
She loved to repair roofs for some reason. She went on some sort of rampage one time, ripping roofs off and repairing them in this sort of hyperactivity, flush with volumes of tea. And then one day she just stopped and was never seen from again. Occasionally, someone may find that their roof has been redone.
And now, part 2, also known as part 4.
Welcome to the Jack and Mark Show. This is part 4. Part 3 has been cancelled. It wasn't funny. Part 4.
Now, the fire extinguisher. Who invented the fire extinguisher? Wasn't the mother known as the extinguisher?
Well, she was known as the extinguisher. That was if you pissed her off. She could get pretty angry, and usually the person would find their financial bank account extinguished because she was pretty good with numbers and stuff too. But the extinguisher, the invention of the extinguisher goes way back to the Greeks because they invented everything.
There wasn't a lot of stuff to burn, right? So when they invented a fire extinguisher, it didn't really have an application.
Because everything, is made out of stone. We take for granted an extinguisher is a nice little portable unit. But the first extinguisher that was invented by Astral Plebis, odd name. But he invented this extinguisher that was the size, it was huge.
It was the size of the Parthenon.
Pardon? Yeah, it was huge.
It basically was the Parthenon. It's little known, but the Parthenon was really this fire extinguisher. Invented by wasn't that Astroplebus?
Astroplebus. His first fire extinguisher experiment was this. He would make a huge clay jar, and it didn't work very well because he'd fill the jar with water, and it was huge. It was 50 feet high. It took so much clay to make this jar. And then when there was a fire, they said, Astroplebus, there's a fire over 1 kilometer from here. And he said, okay, good, I'll get my fire extinguisher, but no one can move the thing. It couldn't be moved.
That gave rise to the invention of the hose.
That's right. Yeah, that.
Yeah, I mean that was another philosopher, right? That was Placenta, wasn't it?
Placenta Frank. Yeah, Placenta Frank, he invented the hose. He made that out of just a whole bunch of pig intestines. Because they didn't have any rubber, right? And so he made this super long pig intestines.
Right. I mean, you take 50 pigs, you kill them all, you take their small intestines out.
This led to the invention of the sausage. Let's face it, sausages are in fact just little short hoses.
So you take 50 pig intestines, small intestines. The problem was it takes a long time.
Yeah, I know. The pig intestine's just like a couple inches wide diameter. He put a hole in the bottom of this massive clay jar of water, and the water pressure was okay. It pushed itself through the hose. The hose shot the water out there, but it was pretty slow, actually, at the end. It didn't work that well. And then, of course, usually the problem was a pack of dogs would just come and grab the sausage skin. They loved it. It tasted good to them.
And that's the invention of the sausage.
Yeah, that was the invention of sausage. They thought, well, maybe it tastes good, if the dogs like it. So they tried eating it, like a little hose filled with water, and it didn't taste very good. And when they tried to fry it, it would burst and put out the fire they were trying to fry the sausage lining, the intestine with. And so then they said, well, let's put meat in there. That was the sausage. Then, of course, Astrophysis, when he removed.
Wait a sec, it wasn't Astrothesis. You're thinking of the guy who invented the screw. It's Astroplebus.
Oh, Astroplebus.
Yeah, Astrothesis.
Archimedes invented the screw. Astroplebus invented the big clay fire extinguisher, and Placenta.
Wait a sec, not Astroplebus. There's Astroplesis, Astrothesis, and Astroclevis is the new guy you just mentioned.
Oh, Astroclevis. Well, that was his brother. Oh, yeah.
He invented the concept of separation, didn't he?
Yeah, the separation of very large breasts. Astroclevis, he loved women's breasts, and he invented the bra. He liked to see breasts accentuated, and he wanted them separated. That's where the word cleavage comes from.
It's interesting they all had the name Astro. It was all prefixed by Astro.
I know. Well, they had a funny family. The kids all had the same first name, and they gave them a different last name. It got pretty confusing when it came to the birth certificates and stuff.
Especially if they were two words that were spelt the same, but had different sounds.
Yeah. Well, and look at Placenta Frank. His name is all backwards.
That's right. Okay, really it should have been Frank Placenta.
I know. Usually, I think that maybe 2,000 years later, people started switching it around because they could see that it was just confusing for most people.
With these pig intestines and the water coming from the fire extinguisher, which is basically a big urn, and the lack of water pressure, that led to the whole study of pressure, like by Archimedes.
Oh, yeah, they said, Archimedes, you got to help us. These idiots over here, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And Archimedes, he was a bit renowned, and because he only had one name, too, so they could keep track of him.
I think his name was Archimedes. His first name was Archie. His last name was Medes. That's the story of Archimedes.
Archimedes.
Yeah, it wasn't Archimedes. It was Archie, because his first name was Archie.
Oh yeah, Archimedes. Oh, wait a minute. I think Archimedes was lesser known than Archimedes.
Oh, they're two different people.
They're different people, yeah. Archimedes studied screws, and Archimedes studied water pressure.
He had a good friend, Archimedes, didn't he?
Archimedes?
Yeah, he had a good friend called Reggie, didn't he?
Regiomoeba, I think.
Regiomoeba, that's right.
It's just one word, though. Regiomoeba. Regiomoeba. Regiomoeba didn't live long because he kept trying to study things in the water, in the ocean, and he didn't know how to swim.
Right. And this was before the invention of swimming.
It was before the invention of swimming. And so Archimedes, when he lost Regiomoeba. Yeah, when Archimede lost no, when he lost Archie, no, Reggie Amoeba, he became despondent and he said, "That's it. I'm gonna fight water. Water took my friend, and I'm gonna fight water to do my bidding. I wanted to do what I wanted to do." And he tried to go out into the water, and of course, he couldn't swim either, and he almost drowned. So then he went out and he said, "I'm going to." Try attacking water a different way. So he started becoming obsessed with water pressure, to be able to control water to do what you want it to do and not let water do what it wants to do to you.
Right, right. And he failed, right?
Well, he started off with the big 50-foot wide, 5-story high clay jar fire extinguisher. So in order to get more water pressure, he thought, how can I do that? First, he just started throwing rocks in there, but that just made it overflow over the top.
That doesn't work at all. As we know today, water pressure just depends on the height of the water.
That's right. He put a big seal on the lid, and then he started pumping with a big lever, pumping air into the container.
And this was Archimedes' lever. Archimedes invented the lever, but Archimedes invented the lever.
Oh, the lever and the lever.
Yeah, well, one of them is fulcrumless. A lever is a fulcrumless lever, I think.
Yeah, I heard they used to get into big debates as to who invented the lever and who invented the lever. Yeah, people said, "Why don't you guys shut up? It's the same thing." And they said it's not the same thing. And then they get pissed off at everyone, and then they were ostracized. It was so ironic because then they had to go live with each other.
Weren't they sent to Crete?
Yeah, it was the island of crap.
Right, the lesser known island.
It was the island of crap, where they send argumentative individuals. They said, "We're going to send you out to the island of crap. We don't want to listen to your bullshit all day." But they were geniuses, and so, as we all know, geniuses are vilified before they're vindicated.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean that's the whole process of becoming a genius is you must be vilified, and then you become vindicated.
Yeah, we all know this.
The old story, like the victor sets the system. What's that? The victor rewrites the history or whatever?
Yeah, the history is written by the victors. That saying was written by about 5 victors. It's just coincidence that there was these 5. They all had the same first name.
Except for the same problem is, Astro.
Oh, right. Yeah, the Victor was their last name, and their first name was Radish.
They're all Victor Radish, right? Clearly they had a self-interest. They wrote, "History will be written by the victors."
Of course, there was 5 of them, and they would just always argue who invented it. They said, "Well, who invented it?" It was Victor Radish. And they said, "But I'm Victor Radish." And they all had the same stupid name. People got pissed off. They banished them to the island of crap. The 5 victors were out there, and along with Archimedes and Placenta Frank.
Were the Astros there?
Well, Astroclevis, he didn't have to get sent to the island of crap because big-breasted women were having back problems, and Astroclevis invented the bra, and they liked the bra.
That's where Clevis came from, as you said earlier.
He had a good life. He was popular, and he also got to always look at cleavage. It's all he wanted, anyways. And
most people, if they look at cleavage, they get in trouble from their partners. Right. But for him, he could always say, "No, I'm doing research."
And he was doing research. He had copious amounts of papyrus notes that he had stored in big storage bins. And he was very popular. People would come and say, "Listen, I need to know something about cleavage." And he said, "I know everything there is to know about cleavage."
He would refer them to his papyrus notes.
He
never used papyrus, right? He used papyrus.
Yeah, papyrus wasn't as popular as the papyrus. It was very heavy, wasn't it? It was written on big, heavy slates.
The history of Greece is
it's endless. Greece, you can milk forever because they did everything first, it seems. And they didn't even have to have science. I mean, Aristotle, he envisioned atoms. How did he know anything about atoms? He just thought it up.
Well, he had a friend called Adam.
That's the thing. He gets credit for having thought that all molecular bonds and stuff are made out of atoms, but actually he was an idiot. He just thought everything was made out of his friend Adam. He said atoms actually compose the structure of the world together.
In the 1800s, you had John Dalton's atomic theory. In this time, you had Aristotle's Adamic theory.
But he was saying atoms as an ADAMS.
But no one ever really put it to the test. They just assumed it was true.
Yeah, they just thought it was true because he was right about other things. But I'm not sure if this was Aristotle. This was probably Aristotle.
Oh, a different one. How do you spell it?
It was be Aris, AIRS, and then Toddle, TODDLE.
But ARIS or ARS?
AIRS.
Oh, AIR. That'd be heirs.
Aristotle.
He liked to benefit off the similarity of their name.
Well, he did. He would hide behind bushes and stuff and just make notes of whatever Aristotle said, and then he'd modify them so he wouldn't get charged with plagiarism. And he would just go on his own things. He'd hear about atoms, and then he'd wrote this other theory about atoms, a person, ADAMS. He thought atoms kept everything coherent. I think they banished him to the island of crap as well because it made no sense.
We have concluded our broadcast schedule for today. Good night.
Να ξέρεις τα βράδια πως μισώ, που με τιμωρούν που σ' έχω χάσει. Θέλω να σε δω, το ομολογώ, άλλη τέτοια νύχτα ας μην περάσει. Θέλω να με νιώσεις, να μην με προδώσεις. Θέλω να σ' ακούω να μου λες πως μ' αγαπάς. Θέλω να με νιώσεις, να μην με σκοτώσεις. Πες πως δεν τελειώσαν όσα άρχισαν για μας. Να ξέρεις τις ώρες πως μετρώ, σαν πληγές στο σώμα μου επάνω. Είναι τόσες που έχω να σε δω, κι αν δεν έρθεις νιώθω θα πεθάνω. Θέλω να με νιώσεις, να μην με προδώσεις. Θέλω να σ' ακούω να μου λες πως μ' αγαπάς. Θέλω να με νιώσεις, να μην με σκοτώσεις. Πες πως δεν τελειώσαν όσα άρχισαν για μας. Θέλω να με νιώσεις, να μην με προδώσεις. Θέλω να σ' ακούω να μου λες πως μ' αγαπάς. Θέλω να με νιώσεις, να μη με σκοτώσεις. Πες πως δεν τελειώσαν όσα άρχισαν για μας.
Μου πεμάντησα πως για να σε βρω θα πρέπει φτερά να έχω και πως για να πιω απ' τα χείλη σου θάλασσες να ταξιδέψω και πως για να πιω απ' τα χείλη σου θάλασσες να ταξιδέψω. Μου ποιμάντησα πως αν ήθελα μια ζωή να σε αγγίζω στην κακοκαιρία και στη μοναξιά, αχ ποτέ να μη λυγίζω στην κακοκαιρία και στη μοναξιά, αχ ποτέ να μη λυγίζω. Μάτια μου για να σε δω.
Τα περασμένα καίγονται, στη λησμονιά πετάνε. Γίνοντα γιατρεύτες πληγές, τις νύχτες και πονάνε. Στη λησμονιά σε πάνε. Στάσου λιγάκι μη μιλάς, άσε το χτύπο της καρδιάς να πει ό,τι είναι για να πει. Στο φως να γεννηθεί για ένα τίποτα. Μη φοβηθείς πως φτάσαμε στα νύποτα. Γλυκιά μου μην χαθείς. Και τα χαράματα σ' αρθεί με μια λαχτάρα η προσμονή. Θα είναι μια λόκοτη χαρά, θα γίνει δίψα και φωτιά. Θα είναι μια λόκοτη χαρά. Στάσου λιγάκι μη μιλάς, άσε το χτύπο της καρδιάς να πει ό,τι είναι για να πει. Στο φως να γεννηθεί για ένα τίποτα. Μη φοβηθείς πως φτάσαμε στα νύποτα. Γλυκιά μου μη χαθείς. Στάσου λιγάκι μη μιλάς, άσε το χτύπο της καρδιάς να πει ό,τι είναι για να πει. Στο φως να γεννηθεί για ένα τίποτα. Μη φοβηθείς πως φτάσαμε στα νύποτα. Απόψε μην χαθείς.
Αγάπη μου σου γράφω ένα ποίημα. Θα ήθελα να ζήσω σε ένα κύμα, να με πάει και να με φέρνει και στη σκέψη σου να μπαίνει, να γλιστράω στα μαλλιά σου, στο λαιμό σου να κρύφτω, να μεθάω με τα αρώμα σου, να χορεύω στο κενό. Πάρε με μαζί σου στο πιο όμορφο όνειρο, πάνω στο κόρμι σου, στου φιλιού σου το βυθό. Θα σε εσύ το κύμα, θα μ' αέρας που φυσά. Σου υπόσχομαι ταξίδια, ασημένια και χρυσά. Αγάπη μου στα δυο υγρά σου μάτια ανοίγονται θλιμμένα μονοπάτια. Μες στη θλίψη θα βαδίσω τις πληγές σου για να κλείσω. Κι όταν φτάσω στην άκρη και το μαύρο έχει χαθεί, θα χαράξω ένα δάκρυ, μια υπόσχεση ακριβή. Πάρε με μαζί σου στο πιο όμορφο όνειρο, πάνω στο κόρμι σου, στου φιλιού σου το βυθό. Θα σε εσύ το κύμα, θα μ' αέρας που φυσά. Σου υπόσχομαι ταξίδια, ασημένια και χρυσά.